everyone, and welcome to Garden Puerto Rico. Today is our second day of webinars, and we are really excited that you are here with us. If you joined us yesterday, thank you so much for coming back today. If this is the first time that you join us, my name is Shirley, and I will be hosting this webinar series. Today, I will also be the main speaker for our series, so this is going to be interesting. At the very least, different. Today's webinar series is titled Social Transformation in Digital Worlds, Digitalization, Video Games, and NFTs. This webinar series explores how technology access has a concrete and potential social transformative effect when applied to cultural heritage conservation and cultural production. So our first webinarist or our first speaker of the day is Dr. Johnny Lugo Vega. He's the director of the Cultural Heritage Innovation Program and therefore my boss. His webinar is titled Technology in the Documentation of Cultural Heritage Assessment from Earthquakes, the Hacienda Mattei. Dr. Lugo's webinar is a case study on how technology has been applied to a cultural heritage site that has been damaged by first Hurricane Maria's devastation back in 2017, and then last year during a series of earthquakes in 2020. For the second part of our webinars, I will be your speaker, and my talks are going to be about video games and the metaverse. So if you're interested in those topics, definitely stay tuned for that. All right, so without any further delay, allow me to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Johnny Lugo Vega. Dr. Lugo holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry, a master's in science and environmental health, and a PhD in history of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean from the University of Puerto Rico. He got a diploma in painting restoration at the Instituto per l'Arte e il Restauro. I wholeheartedly apologize for my lack of Italian. In Florence, Italy. He is a fellow of the NSF IGERT in Environmental Sciences and fellow Prince Claus Funds at the Smithsonian. He is the director of the Cultural Heritage Innovation Program at the Puerto Rico Science, Technology, and Research Trust. Thank you so much, Dr. Lugo. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Welcome to Garden Puerto Rico. My name is Johnny Lugo Vega. I am the director of the Cultural Heritage Innovation Program and the Garden Puerto Rico coordinator. I hope you can enjoy our garden program during this festival, Ars Electronica 2021. I would like to go to the presentation that take us today in terms of talking about the key element theme of the webinar, which is social transformation. I would like to share with you a specific study case where cultural heritage conservation can be as part of this social transformation by means of technology and innovation. That is the case, the Hacienda Mattei, which is a coffee grow hacienda that started in the 1837 with the migration of some Corsican families in Puerto Rico. So I would like to share a little brief of the history, not only from the coffee economy of Puerto Rico, but also how this project and our organization, the Puerto Rico Science and Technology Trust, are collaborating with the Mattei family in order to provide a sustainable conservation in culture model, which is the model that we are going to share as we are going through this presentation. So welcome all of you. Before that, let's take a see where we are in the world. Puerto Rico is a small island, basically like 9,104 square kilometers, and we are basically in the Great Antilles, on the Caribbean Sea between South America and North America. As we go through our reality in terms of the key elements of this presentation, which also bring us the theme of the earthquakes and the relation with the cultural heritage preservation, our geological history and behavior in the Caribbean is continually forced by the North American plate, which is moving from east to west, and the Pacific plate, which is forcing also the Cocos plate and the Caribbean plate from west to east. So we have this induction movement that create in time one of the most deepest places underwater in the Atlantic, which is called the Puerto Rico Trench. And basically, we are inducing by several forces which make our geological reality a point of concern in terms of our history, both social, economical, and environmental. Taking a closer look, our island, being small but very variety in biodiversity, we have some characteristic formation doing that geological history. So basically, we have most of the center part of the island is our mountain region, which in the color green you can see the relation of this landscape being high altitudes. It's a cordillera or chain of mountains in the center of the island that have this conical form, and then all the waters that capture Puerto Rico run from the center through the coastal valleys, which we decide to put our infrastructure and houses and all our urban areas. As you see, we decide to put our construction areas in potentially floodplains. This is a main concern in Puerto Rico, as well as the biophysical characteristics. Being in the Caribbean, we are constantly all under the effect of storms, hurricane, flood episode, heavy rain, but also now a new reality that has been developed in this characteristic part, which is the southwest part of Puerto Rico, that started in January 2021 with an earthquake of 6.5 in the scale, the Richter scale. So after that, the earth has been trembling and moving in this part of the island due to the activation of some faults that are present historically in that region. So the important thing is that our transformation, social transformation, has become a relation of our biophysical condition, natural events of the Caribbean, and our planning decisions to put our infrastructure in a small island such as Puerto Rico. In terms of our population, we are at Spanish speakers with the percent with that domain English language also, but mainly we are a group of constantly migration events from United States and Puerto Rico, and a little bit from Puerto Rico to Latin America. So our composition is mainly by Spanish speakers, and also one another aspect of our demographic is that our families are basically developed under two type of economy, and like manufacturing since the 20th century, the middle of the 20th century, 1940s and beyond. And before that, we have as a main economy mode the agriculture of some woods such as coffee, sugar cane, tobacco, and fruits. So agriculture was a little bit abandoned under the high industrial influence in the mid-40s. And then the composition of our families now is basically like low, medium scale working families, struggling right now with some events that have been affected us in the past 3 years. So there is obviously talking about maybe a poor island with a lot of opportunities dealing with each year, a potential of having either a hurricane, a storm, but now facing this earthquake period that in the positive way has been very, very important to strengthen our resilience level in terms also as the vulnerability level of our societies. So after Hurricane Maria, I took the initiative to make a very short survey looking forward for the perception of the archivists, which had been struggling to put in order our historical archives after Hurricane Maria, a Category 5 hurricane that destroyed the whole island. And then it was interesting that even when we have expecting an earthquake in that time, we just have an episode in our history, especially in 1918, is called the San Fermin earthquake. It was a 7.2 Richter scale earthquake that destroyed mainly the west part of Puerto Rico and generate a tsunami that also affect that part. So keeping in mind that we are more or less in a 100 years of oscillation, expecting this earthquake in January to 2021, this earthquake comes in, but a little bit after in this survey, there was a concerning of these archivists to the vulnerability, a value of having an earthquake, and they all consider that earthquake could be an event that can be putting in jeopardy all the infrastructure related to the archivists and historic building and site in Puerto Rico. Such reality came after Hurricane Maria in 2017, which is illustrated in the figure that you can see in my left hand. This is one of the street of our main historic site in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which is a Spanish historical site beginning in the 16th century through 18th century. And you can see the damage of the trees in the area. And in the right part, you can see a building affected by the earthquake of January 2021. And we can see, what will be our challenge now, not only to recover the abandon of this historical site, but also now the partial destroying of these cultural heritage values in our towns. So the Cultural Heritage Innovation Program, the program that I lead under the Puerto Rico Science Technology Trust, which is our organization, has been supported cultural institutions in order to preserve cultural heritage using technology and innovation. We also promote the use of innovation and creative culture as a new basic economy to develop our historical site and convert it into real cluster of creative economy due to the lack of initiatives that has been keeping not in mind in the last 30 years, I can see. And the other objective of our program is to develop a strategic plan one by one with our participant in order to go, more further in the creation of a self-sustainable economy based in sustainability. And so for doing that, we create a model which is called the Sustainable Innovation in Cultural Model, that have 4 axes or beams, which are interconnected in and out of the historical site or communities around those monuments that have been left or abandoned. And our proposal is generate a dynamic axis that can create another view of the asset of having a cultural heritage site for the attraction, for example, for tourism, local economy, and also retrieve most of our rural assets, such as the agricultural part that has been left, as I have discussed in the beginning, that now slowly has been captured some attention, especially in the coffee growing sector. So our beams have an education and research part or segment. This is related to the universities and the educational system to go further in the acknowledgement of how to preserve and why we need to preserve our cultural heritage for the future generation. Obviously, the community and outreach action is a very important access. We can do that about or by through a sustainable planning and development model, looking forward to accept the reality that being in a small island with not a lot of resources, such as the continents, we need to improve and invest in sustainable models that could be more fixable in our reality as an island. And then we are investing also in the public policy to create a creative economy based in culture, values, in intangible value, but also in our assets as community and the potential that are in the communities that has been abandoned also, not only through education, but also through the aspect of our economy style that have been, been falling apart in this millennium. So the Hacienda Mattei is looking forward to make a collaboration with us, trying to make a pilot and put this model in direction. Our pillars or axes in more detail is very interesting. How can in other countries you can take little kids and put with like a STEAM styles, methods of learning and teaching. How can you put a class or expand the production of knowledge, having cultural heritage are your main topic. That's more of the focuses in this model, not also in the primary level, but also in the academic level. You can have the opportunity to explore and interrogate our cultural heritage values and generate research so solid, such as biology, scientific, chemistry, or physical academic proposal to produce papers and publication about the characteristic of this historical site. And basically they improve also, or have been improved also by means of this multi-discipline opportunities that conservation bring to the people who is in the search of the quest of a discipline that has this extraordinary open space to put together engineers, scientific, community leaders to resolve a local and social problem in their communities. That's the sense of conservation in a multidisciplinary picture. The communities are very important and are the key element that we need to drive them into a self-sustainable model. So that's why we are investing in his well-being, because we know for sure that the same history encompasses the importance of those communities around, for example, sugar mills or coffee district, which has been stated and there since 2 centuries. And why can we make a continuity of that history and using another strategy to develop and profit those extraordinary cultural heritage historical sites that are there, and the communities that have the memory by her fathers and grandfather and grandfathers about the history of that place. So that is a huge opportunity to keeping in mind that a sustainable model can improve in this social transformation proposal. And one of the things that our organization has been doing is trying to put some elementary tools such as GeoBase, GIS technology and software, because this technology help us to visualize in many scale what are the important assets and what can we create a new type of economy based in those extraordinary cultural assets that you have in your yard, okay? Basically be near of your community. So that interaction of the communities with the historical site that in one time was the creator and producer of those same communities, I know that this is a very good example to explore how can we retrieve that communication and innovation, not only try to make something happen or make something new. Innovation also underscore the connection of dots that has been lost or relation that has been lost. And that is the important fact about the communities and technology in terms of the cultural heritage preservation and conservation efforts. So we are looking forward to share not only with us, but with the Caribbean and the world, the extraordinary opportunities that we have to be a showcase, an island that can offer so huge, diverse cultural heritage historical sites, from archaeological site, Rupert's art in caves, and haciendas of coffee, sugar mills, and also beautiful coastal places, which has been the proper and the real space of a Caribbean pirate history. So there is an extraordinary history underneath those coastal lines, such as the Guanica Park, which is I'm illustrating right here, very near from the Hacienda Mattei. And the thing is that if we can see these different scales under this model, we can see a lot of opportunities that can be modeled in your countries and in your in your places, taking in account that innovation and technology can be a specific tool, a complementary tool, not a substitutive tool for the community's well-being. So I think that this is a good opportunity that we have in Puerto Rico to explode this model in terms of our cultural heritage sites. So this is like a general aspect of the conversation that we have in terms of cultural heritage and earthquake relation. But Going more deeply in our case study, I would like to introduce you a little bit of our coffee history through this timeline. Coffee has been growing in Puerto Rico more or less since 19th century. Coffee was imported from Martinique to Cuba and Dominican Republic in the mid 18th century, and then passes to Puerto Rico as a merchandise, also by contraband to Puerto Rico. But the thing is that certainly in the mid 19th century, there was some migration, important migration for Europeans to the island, both Cuba and Dominican Republic, and in Puerto Rico also was part of this migration. We have been from the northern part of Spain called the Gallegos, also from the Canary Island, and also from Italian parts, including Corsica, which is called the Corsos. So we are looking forward to having Puerto Rico around 1820 to 1899, an influence of Corsican families that has been going to that go to Puerto Rico and deliver and develop these rural haciendas for the coffee growing of Puerto Rico, taking in consideration also that between the 19th century and the final 18th, 19th century, there was a slavery also. So there were, like, you know, a very frequent picture having those hacienda worked by African slave that has been also bring to Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Dominican Republic for the sugar production in terms of sugar mills. So coffee has in Puerto Rico a golden year between the 1894 to 1896, when Puerto Rico was placed as the 6th place of the most coffee grower of importance in the world. So keeping in mind that, I think that there is a great opportunity not also to demonstrate how coffee grow was important in our history and economy, but also how can we rescue that part of history in terms of our intention to regrow coffee in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, in 1898, a potential hurricane, category 5 hurricane called San Ciriaco, destroyed all the coffee plantation in Puerto Rico. So since that, the coffee grown in Puerto Rico was very, very slow until now that we have some cluster growing in that aspect. But the relation of the intention of restore the haciendas, the complex model of the haciendas at the historical site that have became right now, is not new, but it's not also very engaged right now with the government. So that's the potential opportunity that we have to support the government in these terms. So the beauty of history and the primary source is that we can validate that in those years, coffee grow the exportation of coffee in Puerto Rico was substantially important in those days. And this is a composite of the recollection of all the haciendas and coffee growers in Puerto Rico that has been settled, as I say, in the rural mountain area of Puerto Rico, especially in the southwest part of Puerto Rico. The Hacienda Mattei was the same case. Is an example of this Corson family who arrived in Puerto Rico and founded in 1837 the former Fortuna Hacienda, now the Mattei Hacienda. The hacienda has been in the family hands from his creator Gregorio Irizarry, and then they have been passed to the generation until now that Mr. Edwin Mattei is the actual owner. So the beauty of this hacienda is that parallel to the coffee complex growing manufacturing site, they have also a small sugar mill system that create a local regional economy of trading woods or sugar and converted sugarcane into sugar and traded in a local internal regional economy. So that was very interesting, knowing that in Puerto Rico there were like 2 or 3 this type of hacienda in that time that having both coffee activity and sugarcane activity. And this is our case study, especially this kind of structure that is called tren jamaiquino, or the Jamaican train. Is like, according to the literature, it's like a Creole Caribbean modification of a French melting system consisting in piles or pilas or ferns that you put charcoal and steaming the juice of the sugar cane. After being milled, the juice goes to these calderas, and the calderas has heat, and you can evaporate the juice and have sugar made it, the raw sugar made it. And those raw sugar was a very, very important economy products in those years. So in the Hacienda Mattei, we have this conservation problem that we are looking forward to help the family, basically related for the sugar mill system, as you see in the picture. So we have 2 type of problem. We have the structural problem that Hurricane Maria affected, and we now have this amazing brick tower, which is like the, like the furnace or the chimney of the burning of the sugar juice to produce sugar, and this brick tower is now facing a problem due to the earthquakes and the seismic activity that has been produced in the Guanica region. And that's the main concern about the family, that this tower can collapse in any moment. If you do not take the proper measurement for stabilize. We look after the Mattei family to help them try to make simple models, not only to respond to the conservation problems and the emergency of the fracture of the tower, but also being constructive of our proposal to convert the Hacienda Mattei into an eco-agricultural touristic site or touristic center. That's the proposal of the Mattei family. And then we merge our sustainable innovation in culture model with this site and create a pilot to explore the capabilities that we have to develop this time as a model. So keeping in mind that, and I have 5 minutes to show you how technology can play an important part on this, is that as we know, the relation and the condition of the structure right now, in relation with the seismic activity, basically in that part of the island, drive us to the idea that we need to stabilize the structure in order to keep it for the future generation and for all the plans that we have. So keeping in mind that, we look after a friend of us in the Geomark LLC company that help us to build a 3D scanning model of the sugar mill. And with that information, we are looking forward to create a diagnosis of the damage of the structure, especially not only in her configuration of the structure, but especially in the chimney or the brick tower, that as you see in this figure, with the help of the 3D scanning, you can construct in a digital way the fracture, the main fracture that can put in jeopardy the stabilization of the tower. So we're looking forward to make a 4D model in terms of a specific monitoring system with cameras and digital technology, and try to create like a forecast or a preventive data to see how this crack or this damage has been, what is its behavior with the seismic activity in Puerto Rico. And we have the technology and we have the data for doing that. So we are looking to work with NASA also to explore not only the condition of having a Lidar remote sensing of the structure, but also to measure if the tower is moving against nature by the earthquake, because in that sense we can provide like this a very specific monitoring, measuring centimeters of the movement of the chimney, and put digital data to the government and the cultural institution, and provoke a dialogue to help this the historical site to be stabilized. So in conclusion, technologies such as 3D scanning, photogrammetry, point cloud imaging, Lidar, and such represent a new approach to diagnosis and a very strong risk assessment tool for monitoring historical buildings. Also, you can put your intervention or preservation plan in this imaging to capture the attention of your investor or the key holder or partners or stakeholders that you are showing the problem, and being more specific in the way that you are proposing a plan for the stabilization or the restoration. So social transformation is also achievable with a scientific dialogue, bringing communities, in the case, this representation by the Mattei family, and organizations such as ours and the government, to obtain a response and took in consideration the importance of preserving our cultural heritage for a future generation. So in the words of Mattei family, that they just called me and they just have been very excited about the idea that we can share through this Sept webinar and Ars Electronica festival this study case. I think that the message is that you can use this model to search in your countries, that you can improve your method of monitoring and try to capture the attention of your stakeholder to preserve this amazing cultural heritage for the future generation, not only for us, but everyone. So thank you very much for your time. I would like to finish with my acknowledgement from the Mattei family, who has been very kind to open their hacienda for us, and the engineers that work in GeoMart that was being responsible for the 3D imaging, and also our digital producer, Ricky Vasquez, for make this possible, these transmissions possible. Thank you so much, and welcome to Garden Puerto Rico.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lugo, for that wonderful presentation. I am sure our audience must have questions. However, today we will not be having a live Q&A. So if you have questions for Dr. Lugo, please do not hesitate to email him. You may use this email right here, jlugo@PRScienceTrust.org. Once again, if you have any questions for Dr. Lugo regarding his presentation, please do write to him to this email address, jlugo@prsciencetrust.org. So that means that this is the end of our first webinar. Thank you so much for being here. Up next, we have my first webinar, Playing Culture, Video Games as Cultural Objects and Tools for Social Transformation. Right after that, I'm gonna be delivering a second webinar. This one is titled Into the Metaverse, NFTs and Our Possible Digital Future. So if those are topics that you're interested in, please stay tuned. We will be right back, and I'll see you all at the hour. See you soon.